This is actually pretty genuinely concerning. For those who aren't aware, the House and Senate are both working on a pretty large infrastructure funding bill. The total new spending is about $550 billion. And for various legislative reasons, they have to include what are known as pay-fors in that bill to a certain extent to show that they're generating new revenue to match this new spending. And about 30 billion of that new revenue right now is expected to come from a provision that would add some new tax requirements and reporting requirements to crypto operators. Now, this is still in process. Coin Center is actively working to deal with it. But the issue here is that the language in the bill, we are led to understand, could lead to some real problems with classifying miners and DEXs as brokers, as well as potentially requiring software and hardware wallets to report transactions to tax authorities, which, leaving aside any political or, whatever other questions, is technically impossible for the most part. So there could be a real train wreck here, and we're sort of watching it. And we don't actually have the exact language yet because this is still all being negotiated. But our understanding is that there are some problems. So it's a tax bill that is flawed. We're hoping to fix it, and we're going to be keeping an eye on it over the next few days. But who knows what'll happen because this is a big omnibus spending bill that there's a lot of pressure to get passed and might not be a whole lot of time to work out these kinks, which is part of the problem. Ben, you're nodding your head, which is the only reaction I'm seeing of anybody on the screen. So you get to talk about it.
We're just so sad.
As
sad,
as Ben.
No,
okay, he just has a big head.
I'm just saying, we can go there, I guess. No, I think that what we're seeing here, unfortunately, is
I live in a glass house on that one. So
I think what we're seeing is the fact that, they want to identify the pay-fors now. Like the idea of spending this much money has obviously become a little bit of political football, and Democrats have been negotiating with Republicans on it to try and find some measure of bipartisan support to get it put through. And so obviously saying you're going to find ways to pay for this is important. That being said, I think that, again, we're running up against the sort of what feels like the eternal friction around like legislative language being applied very broadly to a very complicated and nuanced industry. And unfortunately, I think that industry does not impact as many people as these lawmakers represent, for example, and as such, they're not going to get the public outcry by including it, right? Like, it's not a huge constituency that they're going to have to report to, and so you're not going to see the potential political pushback, and it feels a little bit like a scapegoat for finding some pocket change here or there. So I think it's really unfortunate. I think that that's what's making this politically viable, and I do think that that is going to be a problem and can make it troubling and tricky in terms of trying to get that language changed in a way that doesn't, create a whole host of cascading issues. But Jen, I'll give this to you.
And I will very briefly on the issue of political pushback. According to our sources, this provision was introduced by Rob Porter, who's one of the main sponsors of the bill. So anybody who wants to reach out to his office to express concerns, he would be the person. I saw Will contributing something.
Yeah, can I jump in there really quick? Jen, I'll give it to you, I promise. This whole topic it's coming at such an interesting point where we saw a lot of exchanges like Binance, Huobi, OKX facing so much pressure on international front throughout the beginning of the year. And now it's before Congress. We also had Angela Walsh and Jerry Brito speak before Congress the other day, talking about the role that crypto providers, crypto miners, and even DEXs or exchanges play within the crypto ecosystem. Are they intermediaries or are they not? And to be frank, a lot of the information that was presented seemed very inaccurate. There was some very powerful information that was presented before Congress and some that was just flat out wrong, calling miners intermediaries in a financial sense, which is just incredibly wrong. And so I think this speaks to the need for more education on Capitol Hill and the need for more, I don't know, I want to get Naomi's take on this. But I see where lobbying comes into play here, even though I don't like the idea of lobbying. And Eric Voorhees had a great tweet about this with Ryan Selkis the other day. Like, do you want to give up the moral high ground by bringing in lobbying agencies on behalf of the crypto markets? Regulators could do a lot of damage to the crypto industry here just because there's so much misrepresentation and so much miseducation on this topic. Naomi, I want to hear your take on that, but give it to Jen really quick first.
Naomi, go for it, and I'll go after you. No, Jen, you hop in there.
Okay, so I was just going to say there's already so much. When we look at what's happening with taxes in the US and crypto right now, it's already so unclear. And so if this bill goes through, we're just like adding more layers of mud, I feel, to what's happening with regulation and taxes. And if this bill goes through, I feel like we're in for a world of hurt, just kind of echoing what Will said. I mean, if you look at what David was saying, software wallet developers, hardware wallet manufacturers, multi-sig service providers, liquidity providers, DAO token holders, and even miners, we've already seen it took them 6 months to change one word on a tax form. I mean, how are we even going to start to look at this? So it just seems very confusing. I think there is a real need for education when it comes to looking at this, and it just feels like they're just kind of grasping at straws here. But Naomi, I'll kick it back up to you.
Yeah, I mean, lobbying is this really interesting and awful area, right? And I totally understand Eric's point, because it does feel loathsome to participate in this. It's sort of the same way that a lot of people feel bad about voting. They don't want to participate in this system that they think is completely corrupt and rigged anyway. And so people don't want to participate in lobbying. But the fact is that this is how our society is run. And if you aren't sitting at the table, then you're going to be destroyed. And currently there is an attack against crypto. So I am very grateful for, organizations like Coin Center that are doing doing the hard yards and educating politicians about this. I mean, Caitlin Long is another person who just put in tremendous work, and she's reaping the rewards. Right? Wyoming has fantastic regulations in place now. I think it is an important thing for companies to get involved with, even though I hate the whole system in general and would like to see it completely changed. I mean, the fact is, you've got these politicians who are not, they're not understanding any of the things that they're putting through, because each bill that they have to consider is pages, hundreds of thousands of pages long. They have all these interns that are going through and telling them what to think. And basically they're having lobbyists come in and say, hey, this is why you should trust me. This is what you should think about this bill. And what are they going to do? They don't have the time to dig into this. So they're just going to find the people that they think they can trust. And I think that crypto people do need to get in there and create relationships. And I hate, it makes me feel dirty to say that, but it's just the way that it works, because crypto is under attack right now. And we need to fight back on all fronts, on the decentralization front, on the lobbying front, on the agorist front, on, all of that stuff. I think it all needs to be happening simultaneously.